A mass shooting takes place at a church in Texas, Monmouth University property is vandalized, and Jersey Boys return to the theater. All this and more on Hawk TV News. Hello and welcome to Hawk TV News. I'm Russell Seminaro.
And I'm Dylan McGilloway. We begin tonight with the details of another unfortunate mass shooting on Sunday, November 5th at 11:30 a.m. Military veteran Devin Kelly walked into First Baptist Church in Southern Springs, Texas, and opened fire. 26 people were killed, including the pastor's 14-year-old daughter. Other victims include a pregnant woman and her 3 children, as well as 8 members of a single family. 20 other people are still suffering from injuries after being airlifted at hospitals in the area. The shooter was confronted and chased by a citizen who was also armed before turning the gun on himself. After a detailed search, police found more weapons in the gunman's car. 4% of the small town's population was killed during this tragedy and is now the deadliest mass shooting at a church in U.S. history.
Monmouth University Police Chief William McElrath and MUPD are offering a $1,000 reward for anyone with information regarding a bias incident that took place. On the morning of October 31st, So Sweet a Cat Field and Kessler Stadium were spray painted with biased words and objects. Larchwood Avenue was also damaged with white paint. If you know any information regarding possible suspects, please call the Monmouth University Police Department and ask for the Detective Bureau. All calls will remain confidential.
The Monmouth University debate team had a successful run at the West Point Debate Tournament in New York from October 28th to the 30th. The team won 2 team awards and 3 individual speaking awards. There were approximately 160 debaters from 16 universities across the country. After those 160 participants, Monmouth's very own Matthew Cohen came in 10th place, Landon Myers came in 6th place, and Alexis Vasquez came in 5th place. The team will compete in its next tournament on November 18th and 19th. It does not end there for the debate team. 2 team members, Chris Dialosa and Michael Scoglamillo, helped coach Asbury High School's debate team. With their help, the Asbury Park High School team came in 2nd place at the Urban Debate League tournament in New York City. 3 of the debaters ranked in the top 10. The partnership between Monmouth University and Asbury High School debate teams, began 8 years ago and is funded by a grant from the TD Bank Foundation.
With a review on Thor Ragnarok, we go to Vincent Quaranta.
Hey guys, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has grown exponentially over the past few years, with the movie studio releasing several new films each year, and Thor Ragnarok is the newest to hit theaters. Be warned though, as there will be spoilers. Thor Ragnarok was directed by Taika Waititi and stars Chris Hemsworth as the titular character, as well as Tom Hiddleston, Jeff Goldblum, Mark Ruffalo, and Cate Blanchett, who plays the film's main antagonist. We last saw Thor at the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron, where he decided to return to his home Asgard. He comes back to Earth after 2 years alongside his brother Loki to look for his father Odin. In his dying breath, he reveals to his sons that they have a long-lost sister, the goddess of death Hela, who returns to claim the Asgardian throne. She sends Thor and Loki out to perish in space, and they end up crash landing on the planet Sakaar. Thor ends up getting captured by Scrapper 142, former Asgardian Valkyrie turned bounty hunter for the Grandmaster of Sakaar. He is forced to fight in his gladiator arena, where he reunites with his friend and fellow Avenger Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk. After Thor brings Hulk to his senses and turns him back into Bruce, they plan an escape with Loki and 142 and successfully return to Asgard. They discovered that Hela has been persecuting her own people and that they need to stop her while the citizens evacuate the city. After failing to defeat her on her own, Thor decides that he must summon Surtur in order to unleash Ragnarok. Asgard is destroyed alongside Hela, but Thor and his people end up safe and sound and leave on their spaceship to find a new home on Earth. Thor Ragnarok is full of intense action sequences and great performances by an all-star cast, and the soundtrack is sure to fill moviegoers with hype. The only criticism I have is that the jokes and slapstick comedy scattered all over this movie could have been toned down just a bit. But other than that, this is definitely a movie fans of the MCU will not want to miss, especially with Avengers: Infinity War coming out in the next several months. That's all for this segment. Back to Russell and Dylan at the desk.
On November 1st, 3 men wearing hoodies broke into a UPS truck outside of an Apple store in San Francisco, California. The truck contained 300 iPhone devices with a value about $370,000. Police believe the thieves were tracking the truck's movements throughout the day and carefully planned out the heist.
We now go to Jenna Frayne, who attended the Parole Reentry Conference hosted by the Criminal Justice Department.
Reintegration of ex-criminals into society is one of the most important aspects of the criminal justice system. Today we are here in Pizzicki Hall for Life After Incarceration Parole Reentry Conference.
When I went to college, there wasn't a lot of information about parole, what happens when offenders re-enter society, and I want to put forth the perspective that it's really a rewarding job. It's a career that I think gives you a focus of law enforcement and social work aspect, and I would encourage people to explore that avenue as a employment option.
In these professions and people's lives, you take on a role. You take on a role, and being part of that system and that transition, it's important that when you do take on these different roles and professions, it's to do good. You're given a certain authority to do good, not about picking and choosing. It's to use what you have been given and what you have went to school for to help people in difficult times in their life make that transition.
It's a very interesting subgroup of offenders to work with, and a challenging group because they're not always easy because they've been labeled in such an incredibly negative kind of way. Of course, they've done something pretty terrible, so that label is deserved, but it is an interesting field to work in.
I think it's important that people understand that there are many people with developmental disabilities on the autism spectrum, with intellectual disabilities, who are out in our community. They're part of our community. They're working and living with everybody else. They have the same likelihood of getting involved in the criminal justice system, unfortunately. Sometimes they're charged with sex offenses. They can be prosecuted for that. They'll go to prison and they'll have to cope with the same consequences of those prosecutions as other people.
The tremendous growth in sex offender population over the past 15 years in the state of New Jersey, not in the number of sex offenders, but in the number of sex offenders actually being supervised. So that growth is certainly a big issue, as well as the problems that are unique to sex offenders, like not unique to sex offenders, but problems that are larger for sex offenders, like homelessness, relationships issues with living with children, and things of that nature.
A lot of people that have been incarcerated have very little work history and certainly gaps in their work history. So we do mock interviews, we help them with their resumes, and we actually do job placements throughout the county with a variety of employers that we know about that will hire ex-offenders.
This event was sponsored by the Monmouth Department of Criminal Justice, the School of Social Work, as well as the New Jersey State Parole Board. I'm Jenna Frayne for Hawk TV News.
We have to take a short break, but stay tuned for more Hawk TV News.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
So M Factor is basically a take on X Factor. So we have performers either just with their music or they have their guitars or pianos. It's basically a talent competition. One person gets voted off every week. We try to do different themes, and I think the season's been going pretty well. We have a really great act, and I can't wait to see what happens. next week brings.
My name is Christopher Sabatino. I'm the director of tonight's program. So basically I just look at the monitor here and see which camera shots look good. And while I'm looking at those, I decide which ones to go do. Then I tell the technical director who sits in the chair over there which cameras to cut to.
Are you working the Steadicam tonight?
I am.
What does that entail?
It entails a lot of steady hands and a lot of watching my back so I don't run into Dylan. He's on the other camera and he likes getting in my way. Camera away. Put that glove away. Starting up, you guys all ready?
On November 1st, British police were investigating sexual assault allegations made against House of Cards star Kevin Spacey. The most recent assault claim dated back to an incident in 2008 at Spacey's London home where he allegedly assaulted a man and told him not to tell anyone. Spacey released a statement on Twitter saying that he is horrified from hearing the story and that he does not remember the encounter. However, there have been more people coming forward with allegations. In response, Netflix has ended its association with the actor. The popular service announced it should suspend shooting of House of Cards and will not complete post-production of the film Gore, starring Spacey.
Beyoncé has officially joined the cast of Disney's upcoming live-action version of Lion King. The singer will play the part of Nala, the love interest of the film's hero Simba. Beyoncé will be joining a star-studded cast that includes Donald Glover as Simba. James Earl Jones will be reprising his role as Mufasa from the original animated film. Other stars include John Oliver and Seth Rogen. This movie is set to be released July 2019.
The State Theater of New Jersey, located in New Brunswick, recently kicked off its Broadway season with the Jersey Boys premiere. The first show was sold out with a crowd of 1,800 people and featured some of the Four Seasons' greatest hits. The show brought the magic of the Jersey Boys straight to the Jersey audience. Other Broadway shows making their way to the venue include The Sound of Music and The Wizard of Oz.
The Islamic State continues to lose more territory in Iraq and Syria. Prime Minister Haidar Abadi announced the capture of al-Qaims in Iraq's eastern region. Hours after the Iraqi armed forces entered the city in Syria, the city of Deir ez-Zor was also captured. The 3-year operation on the Syrian garrison was broken into September by the Syrian army with help from the Russian Air Force. The Islamic State is now reduced to a few towns and some deserted area in the desert. Officials from both countries say defeat can come quickly, but there's fear that conflict will escalate into a war.
With information on the highly anticipated Star Wars film, we go to Tony Green.
Hello everyone, here's the big news in the world of cinema. December 15th is going to be one of the busiest days of the year for movie theaters all across the globe as Disney will release their newest film, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. As millions of fans around the world anxiously await the arrival of the new film, there seems to be some turbulence between Disney and movie theater owners in the United States. In a recent report from both the Wall Street Journal and Forbes.com, the multi-billion-dollar corporation is demanding from all movie theaters in the United States that they collect about 65% of all ticket sales for the film and that it is played in the theater's biggest auditorium for the first 4 weeks of the film's release. But these high demands go even further than that. If Disney determines that there is a violation to any of the conditions stated in their contract, they automatically collect an additional 5% of the box office sales, totaling in an incredible 70% of all ticket sales for the first 4 weeks. These demands are much, much steeper than the ones that were made 2 years ago when Disney released Star Wars VII: The Force Awakens, where in that contract it was stated that 64% of all ticket sales would be collected, and for only the first 2 weeks of the film's release, the 7th installment to the legendary franchise made a whopping $936 million at the box office in North America alone. That's not even including the box office sales from other parts of the world, and it most certainly doesn't include any of the profits made from the seemingly endless merchandising that has been made since the 2015 box office hit. Now, while major big-time theaters like AMC may be able to manage with these demands just fine, this problem occurs for smaller local theaters who would struggle with maintaining these demands and for maintaining a profit for themselves, especially in the 3rd and 4th week of the film's release. As a result, there is nothing confirmed yet, but it's a very strong possibility that many of these smaller theaters across the country may refuse to play the movie at all in the hopes of yielding higher profits for other up-and-coming films. It should be noted, though, that despite this turbulence, the film is definitely expected to do just as well, if not better, than its 2015 predecessor. This film features the return of our heroes from the last film, including Daisy Ridley as Rey, John Boyega as Finn, Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron, and Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. The film will also see the return of Mark Hamill to the big screen as an older, wiser, but ever iconic Luke Skywalker, as well as the final performance of the late Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia Organa Solo. As a long-standing fan of the series, I can honestly say that I can't wait for the next installment of the legendary space opera and the continuing story of our heroes from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Back to you guys at the desk.
Short break, but stick around for more Hawk TV news.
The Extra Point is Hawk TV's only sports show, and what I love about The Extra Point is that it allows people to really come on and talk about what they're passionate in, and that's sports.
When I first got here, I didn't really know what to expect. It was really a fun time. This is the most fun I've had in college so far. It's really not as competitive as people will think it is. I've been on air for almost every episode of Extra Point.
Unscripted debate is probably the best format for sports shows today, and I think that's what's growing. So more than anything else, The Extra Point just provides people to come on Hawk TV to talk about what they love, and that's sports.
Tony Lynn, what's it like being a producer?
It's so much fun, especially when I get to work with Matt.
You put in a lot of work, try and get your moves right. You want to make the show look as smooth as possible. You don't want choppy zooms in and out. You want to make it look like the camera's not even there. This is my first time at The Extra Point. I'm just saying, I'm coming back now. They've got me hooked.
I control this switcher right here, and I pretty much make what the director says happen.
Start your move, slowly zoom out, and fade to black. Gorgeous. That is how it's done. We make big TV here. We practice, we execute, we get paid.
Nick, that's all right. I throw a couple of 15-second PSAs in there, and we're good.
Done. Yeah. You're done.
Welcome back to Hawk TV News. Now we go to Michael Orlando with his take on DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Hey guys, so today on your TV update, we're going to specifically talk about the CW show DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Warning, there will be spoilers. This show is about a band of misfits with various skills and special powers that travel through time and space to fix time disruptions. Legends of Tomorrow is currently on its 3rd season and filled with more action and history crashing, whether that be in the past, present, or the future. In previous episodes, the team has encountered Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, who finds out about his untimely demise. This causes a time disruption that the Legends must correct by erasing Caesar's memory. The episode that aired last Tuesday, one of the Legends, Ray Palmer, also known as the Atom due to his suit's ability to shrink in size, disappears because his young self is killed. So, the rest of the Legends travel to 1988 in order to solve the mystery. They discover that young Ray found an alien called a Dominator and befriended it. However, later that episode, a government organization captured both young Ray and the alien and began their investigation. Additionally, the mother of the Dominator is tracking down her child, in which she attacks the Legends and reads their minds. Quickly, young Ray and new Legend Zari take action in order to return the mother's child. At the end of the episode, the young alien leaves and young Ray survives. As far as TV shows go, the 3rd season of Legends of Tomorrow is definitely one to see. You can catch Legends of Tomorrow on the CW channel Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Well, that's it for me with your TV update. Now back to you guys at the desk.
Social media corporations, Facebook, Google, and Twitter were brought to Washington to testify October 31st. These mega brands began to meet with the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee to speak on crime and terrorism. The reason for this investigation is linked to Russia's alleged meddling with the 2016 presidential election. Topics include how the online platforms were used to spread misinformation and propaganda.
Google has a new way to keep email accounts secure. Get this, it requires the use of 2 physical keys costing about $20 each. When you log into your Google account, Google will prompt you to use a key as authenticity. Then you push the Bluetooth button or plug it into a USB to be granted access. Google prefers 2 keys in case one gets lost. If hackers steal your password, they cannot get into your account unless they have the physical keys.
On October 31st, 11-time world surfing champion Kelly Slater hit the Jersey Surf. Slater drew in a crowd of around 1,000 people and surprised many locals when he dropped in at a Monmouth County surf spot. Other professional surfers from the surrounding area joined Slater in the water to catch some waves. Slater said he's been waiting to surf in New Jersey for decades and appreciated the warm welcome and hospitality he received.
The Philadelphia Eagles have officially acquired running back Jay Ajayi from the Miami Dolphins in a trade for a 4th-round draft pick. This trade just made it through before the trade deadline of October 31st and comes as a shocking move for both sides. The Eagles now have their running back of the future as the young back will turn 25 this upcoming summer and is just entering his prime. This will also give the Eagles strength in their running game this season, which might just be the push they need to win their first Super Bowl.
Speaking of sports, we have to take a quick short break, but then when we come back and have an exciting recap with Monmouth Sports with our very own Matthew DeLuca.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Hawk TV News, and we've got it covered.
This is Hawk TV News.
This is Hawk TV News, and we've got it covered.
Hey guys, let's take a look at what your Hawks have been up to. The women's soccer team defeated Manhattan by a score of 5-1 to win the 2017 MAC championship game. 5 different Hawks scored in the game as Monmouth had the lone goal in the first half, then outscored the Jaspers 4-1 the rest of the way. Senior Allie Girardi was named the most outstanding player of the championship, and 3 players were named to the all-tournament team. The program won its 7th conference tournament title in its history, winning 4 in the NEC and 3 since joining the MAC. The victory clinched the 2nd straight MAC title for the team, who will advance to play in the NCAA tournament against Princeton this week. The field hockey team fell to Fairfield 2-1 in the 2017 MAC championship game at Soswedekat Field. Monmouth opened the scoring in the 8th minute off a tip-in goal from Josephine Vanderhoop and would carry that 1-0 lead into halftime. Fairfield, however, would score in the 42nd minute to tie the game at 1. It then took the lead 15 minutes later. Monmouth was unable to score late as their season came to a close. The team finished with their season with a 15-4 overall record while sending 6 players to the All-MAC first team and 2 to the All-MAC second team. The 24th ranked football team defeated Presbyterian by a score of 42-21 at Kessler Stadium. After going into halftime tied at 14, the Hawks outscored the Blue Hose 28-7 in the second half to seal their 6th consecutive victory. Freshman running back Pete Guerrero carried the ball 21 times for 153 yards and a touchdown, and safety Mike Basile totaled 10 tackles on the afternoon. With the win, Monmouth improved their record to 8-1 on the season and 3-0 in Big South play. The team hopes to continue their success as they host Gardner-Webb in their next game. The men's soccer team topped Niagara by a score of 4-0 in the final game of the season. The Hawks opened the scoring in the 4th minute of the game off a shot from Joffrey Schaefer and routed off 2 more goals to make the halftime score 3-0. Monmouth would get 1 more in the 81st minute, stealing their 2nd consecutive shutout for the team. The Hawks missed up qualifying for the postseason and finished the season with a record of 7-9-2 and 5-4-1 in MAC play. That's all the time we have for sports for you today. To stay up to date with your latest in sports, tune in to the Extra Point right here on Hawk TV. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks so much for that, Matt. That's all for this week on Hawk TV News. Thank you for joining us. I'm Russell Simonaro.
And I'm Dylan McGilroy. Be sure to tune in next time for another edition of Hawk TV News.